Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Sports Extra. I'm your host Ahmed Dawaz with the latest roundup of sports today. Let's take a look at our lineup on what we're discussing. We've got things in front of us. Of course, we discussed the ICC World Cup 2023. Just a couple of days now remaining and the warm-up fixtures start from Friday onwards. Pakistan is facing New Zealand in their first warm-up fixture, and I've got the fixtures in front of me which I will be sharing with you as well. The mega event is going to begin on 5th of October onwards, but for this warm-up fixture between Pakistan and New Zealand, fans will not be allowed inside the stadium due to security concerns. So that's something to worry about if you're playing a World Cup there. But for Pakistan team, things are looking good. Visas have finally been granted to the team and the squad will be moving to Dubai initially, and from Dubai onwards they will be departing after a 9-hour stay in Dubai tomorrow. They would be departing for Hyderabad. And if you talk about the team, Babar Azam had a talk with the media as well through a press conference, and he highlighted that the team is in high morale, and he said that the team has learned from their mistakes in the Asia Cup. He also mentioned that we lose as a team, we win as a team, and the team combination right now, the dressing room environment is like one family. So that's good to see that some positive news is coming out of the Pakistan Cricket Board, especially the team management and the environment, which has been debated quite a lot, I think, which shouldn't have been done. So we'll talk about that in detail as well. Time now to introduce our guest. First of all, in studios, we've been joined by first-class cricketer, cricket expert, also a voice on various platforms as well when you talk about media, and to all of your surprise as well, also a national champion when it comes to badminton. And we'll be talking about cricket in general, but also the fact that, you know, how is a dressing room environment before any important game? That is also something to know about as well. Kashif Majid joins us. Assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Walaikum assalam. Thank you, Ahmed.
Great to have you on the show.
Thanks for mentioning that badminton thing.
Absolutely. We've also been joined by sports expert, a regular feature on Sports Extra, Ali Mehdi. Assalamu alaikum. How are you, Ali?
Walaikum assalam. I'm very well, Ahmed.
Great to have you as well.
Thank you.
I think initially when you talk about these warm-up fixtures, like I said, that I've got the warm-up fixtures in front of me, which I will be sharing. So if you look at the entire games on Friday, we've got two games that take place, three in particular, but Bangladesh face Sri Lanka, South Africa face Afghanistan, New Zealand face Pakistan on Friday. So three warm-up matches this coming Friday, which is the 29th of September. Then India face England, Australia face the Netherlands on Saturday. On Monday, England, Bangladesh, New Zealand, South Africa, and on Tuesday, which is the 3rd of October, Afghanistan, Sri Lanka, India, Netherlands, and Pakistan. Second warm-up fixture is against Australia. So we've got some good practice before the World Cup. And finally, Kashif bhai, I think the dust has now settled. Visas have been given. Team is traveling tomorrow. Babar Azam had a lot to say as well, and good enough practice that you're playing New Zealand and Australia right before the World Cup in these warm-up games.
Yeah, definitely. When we talk about Pakistani team going there and playing against New Zealand as a warm-up match, and then the Australia is already there playing against India, the bilateral series, although they're not performing well, and we know for the fact that the fast bowling is just not there. Actually, Mitchell Stark is unfit, so does Pat Cummins. He just played one match, and they're struggling with the injuries. Everybody's struggling with the injuries. We talk about South Africa, we talk about New Zealand with the Kane Williamson, and then with Pakistan, Asim Shah. So this is happening right now, and every team is looking for their best 11. We're talking about Pakistan, New Zealand match will actually give a hint about what will be our first playing 11 in the first couple of matches in the World Cup. Maybe we start with the Fakhar Zaman. Maybe the new ball is shared by Shaheen Afridi and Hassan Ali, because Wasim and Haris Rauf tends to use or prefers to use the semi-odd bowler or the first change bowler, and in the depth and they used to bowl in the depth overs. So this first match against New Zealand, what will be our combination in the coming World Cup? That is you know, we can say it's a full dress rehearsal for Pakistan.
Definitely. Now joining us on Sports Extra is a senior cricket commentator and cricket expert, one of the sane voices in the world of cricket, Leena Moin Aziz. Assalamu alaikum, Leena. How are you?
Then I don't know if I'm very sane, but yeah, thank you so much.
Well, you always are, for me at least. You know, I can always look up to some people when I need a word of advice every now and then. But that being said, dust is settled. Visas have been given. The team is traveling tomorrow. Babar had a lot to say. And, you know, he did promise a couple of people that he would be giving all answers in this very important press talk. And I think he really put all rumors to rest about the team environment and everything that is happening. But also to focus on two warm-up games, one against New Zealand, one against Australia. How good is that for our chances in the World Cup?
You know, first of all, you talked about about his press conference, and you can be very confident in the press conference because you're not actually playing then. You're only talking to a bunch of journalists, and you are the Pakistani captain. You have this body language which is very strong. People call you the king, so you are going to be very strong in the in the press conference. But once you reach India and you start playing, um, more will depend how strong you are, then how you can walk that talk that you just had with the journalist in the ground. Also, what combinations you play with, how are your bowling resources, how your batsmen going to perform, are they good enough for the challenge? I mean, I was just watching England versus Ireland, and in okay, it's Ireland. It's not the best side in the world, but they've got the fastest 50 in the first in ever in ODIs. Within 4 overs, I think they got 50. So you these days you've got to accept the challenges, play a modern cricket, improvise while you're batting, be show your intent, accept the challenges, play the right conditions, and play the right 11. So he's got a plenty of challenges up ahead in the coming weeks, Babar Azam, and there is a lot of weight of expectancy on his shoulders, young shoulders. We're all criticizing him, and we're all talking about how he hasn't selected the right squad. So he's got difficult times coming ahead. It'll all be a great challenge, and it'll be interesting to see how he can handle the situations going ahead.
Well, definitely. I think all of these things need to be put into perspective. But Ali Mehdi, considering our preparation, look, well, let's be honest, we had a horrible Asia Cup, but I think that is something to put behind us now. And even Babar Azam said that, the team is learning from their mistakes. So World Cup is a new challenge. It doesn't happen every year. Every 4 years you get a World Cup. So it's a great moment now for Pakistan if they're playing New Zealand, then Australia, then they go into their first campaign. Their first match is against the Netherlands, the second one against Sri Lanka, and then they take on India.
Look, the best thing about this is, look, everything can be put to bed, Ahmed, over here. Pakistan is done and dusted with the Asia Cup. Whatever has happened is the thing of the past. And he said in his press conference that now, we've learned from our mistakes. The dust has settled now, and now he's selected the squad, and now we are as a family. I think the most interesting thing over here, I do want to point out to all our viewers and obviously to you too, is the fact that now we're traveling. One thing which is very good for us this time is, Ahmed, that our first two warm-up matches are at Rajiv Gandhi Stadium, Hyderabad, and then our first two matches are also at Hyderabad. So it's good for us that we can acclimatize to the conditions, settle in India too. We're playing in Hyderabad. Our two warm-up matches, we'll get used to those conditions, we'll get used to the pitch and the environment over there, and then after settling into India, after playing the likes of Netherlands on the 6th of October, and then on the 10th of October you will be playing Sri Lanka, then we'll go out for the big match against India. So I think this is very good for us this time, considering you compare it to the last World Cup, which I remember, where when we were going, we were very confident, but then after that disastrous match against West Indies, we never really recovered, and our net run rate just took a real battering. So I think this time, it's important that we don't only learn the mistakes, and Babar Azam doesn't only learn from the mistakes of the Asia Cup, but last time round, because this format has only been there since 2019, and now this format is for the second time. So this is like a marathon over there, and you have to take every game at a time, but win them as many as you can. So I think this time it is good. The team is there, they're settled, they are family, and we have a very good chance, considering that our first two games are slightly of the light. We are playing against the lightweights in comparison to the big teams like Australia, India, or England.
Well, does it matter, Kashif bhai, that if you look at Pakistan's campaign, their first match is against the Netherlands, then they play Sri Lanka, but then the big encounter is on the 14th against India. Now, India before that are playing Afghanistan, and before that their first match is against Australia. So does it matter the way you're proceeding to a Pakistan-India game?
I guess how you take it, that matters a lot, because when we talk about taking positions in the likes of Netherlands or Sri Lanka or something like that, it's just not that you wanted the lighter oppositions in front of you. It's just you wanted your players to get acclimatized, as well as got the necessary form going into the good matches against India. So maybe if you flip the coin, at the other side of the coin is at times you win the two matches and just you feel slightly on the side that you feel that you are getting into the groove, but it's just not happening because you have won the matches against the two lighters of the side, and suddenly facing India in Ahmedabad is an uphill task. So it's both ways. It can go both ways. But for me, it's good. After this Asia Cup, I wanted these two matches to happen because we'll get to know our team combination. We know that Naseem Shah is not there. We know there are certain new faces. Hassan Ali is there, and will he be bowling the new ball with the Shaheen, with or Wasim or Haris, who will be our new ball bowler? And simultaneously, if in the warmer matches, if Fakhar Zaman didn't perform well, then we'll be switching to Abdullah Shafiq for the opening. So we wanted those two matches to happen because then 4 matches, 2 warm-ups, 2 World Cup matches, and then that uphill task.
But is it possible to adjust both Fakhar Zaman and Abdullah Shafiq into a playing 11? Is it possible?
I don't think so. Then I'm not sure about the injury to Imamul Haq. If it is of that serious nature, maybe we can fit those. Maybe we can fit those. We've been talking about this for quite some time, that we can fit Fakhar Zaman into the middle order to play the spin, primarily the left arm spin and the right hand leg spinners. We can see those things happening with Mickey Arthur there because he'll be shuffling the batting order. So things can happen, but important thing is find your perfect balance just before the start of the World Cup or before a very important match against India.
Well, that's true indeed, and because that is a game where all stakes come to life. So, Leena, no matter how great form India is in right now, a Pakistan-India game definitely has its toll on both sides. I know Pakistan, for once, after the Asia Cup defeat, would be looking a bit skeptical, but then again, India's got their share of things to worry about as well, although they're in very good form against Australia.
Yeah, well, I'd like to, watched, these gentlemen was saying that an India-Pakistan game is very important and it's got its pressures. But earlier, what Ali was saying, that it's nice that Pakistan getting 3 games in Hyderabad, 2 warm-ups and then against Netherlands. That will give them a lot of confidence if they can start off with a win against Netherlands. Although we shouldn't take anyone easy, that will then give Pakistan some momentum. So before the India game comes, they will be, they would have played 3 games in India, 1 proper World Cup game, and perhaps if you can, inshallah, win that, then we'll be in good stead. Then also you talked about, Fakhar Zaman playing, maybe not both Fakhar and Abdullah playing together, but that as you know, I'm a big fan of the left-handers, so I wouldn't, and good teams these days keep their batting order very flexible. They look at the opposition, they look at the conditions, and then they decide upon the 11. And the more left-handers you actually have in the first 6 or 7 batters, the better it will be for Pakistan, because that will mean that the left hand, right hand combination would keep going. So that would be a good tactic against India. The match itself would be full of pressure, of course, India in India. Not just the 12th man, the crowd, but the crowd will be 12th and 13th man. So won't be easy for Pakistan. Pakistan's not even in great form. The selection is not 100%. But let's now leave that. But Pakistan will have to be mentally so strong on that day, and just dominate the Indians. Forget about everything in the past. Just show a lot of intent and aggression, and that's how they can win it.
Ali Mehdi, this flexibility thing, talk us through that, because obviously we understand we've got 9 games per side. You can't expect to not rotate your team often.
No, I think that's a very good question. And when it comes to, changing, being flexible and rotation, I think it's so important because you've got 9 games and you've got squad of 15. So you have to use them very, very efficiently, and you have to be very wise to use them. That's why I think these 2 warm-up games in Hyderabad, Ahmed, are so important. That is where I think you need to give the likes of Saud Shakil an opportunity, Fakhar Zaman to get some form back, and Mohammad Wasim Jr. also is another one who I think should be given an opportunity. So I really really think, and then Hassan Ali, so he can get some match practice too, is so important, because these warm-up matches will actually enable you to decide what is your strongest 11 and which are the best 11, who are going into those first few matches too. And I think the most important thing is whoever's in form, then after those warm-up matches, then give them an opportunity, because look, it's all about momentum. It's all about those players who are actually finding form, and we've seen it again and again. Players who are in form are performing well. I mean, Iftikhar is one player who I want to talk about, who has been so phenomenal in the Asia Cup to Nepal, and then even against Sri Lanka, he was our best player too. So he's the sort of player who's finding form at the right time too. Everybody said he's a T20 player, but he's finding form, and he's such an important player. So I think this form thing is so important for Pakistan. And when you use your squad, you have to be sensible, because you're going to be going to a lot of stadiums. There's going to be a lot of traveling. You think about, after Hyderabad, you go to Ahmedabad, then you go to Chennai, Bengaluru, Kolkata, back to Chennai. So there's going to be a lot of movement, and there's going to be a lot of traveling. So whichever players are fit and also informed, they should be given the opportunity. But all the, you have to use your squad wisely. You cannot be dependent on the best, on all the 11 all the time, because there's going to be a lot of fatigue. And let's not forget, the conditions are going to be abrasive, because it's going to be hot there in South India.
Absolutely. If you look at some of the stats of this Rajiv Gandhi International Stadium, and considering what the weather is going to be like, out of 7 matches, if you talk about the one-day international stats, 5 of them, a majority of them, or you can say 4 of them, have been won by batting first. And if you look at the average scores in this ground as well, then you look at something between 250 and 350. So Ali Mehdi, probably we can say things would be on a run scoring end at this stage.
Look, I think that especially when it comes to the Rajiv and the Gandhi International Stadium, I was looking into that stadium very well, and obviously Hyderabad, because I have connections affiliated with my maternal side. But looking at the Rajiv Gandhi International Stadium, it is a run fest over there. We've seen it in league cricket too, and I've seen some Indian matches.
288 batting first is the average total.
That shows that it's going to be a run fest. You put runs on the board too, and you put a lot of runs on the board. Only then you can defend it, because this is not going to favor fast bowlers at all. It's going to be people like Babar Azam and our top order and middle order can really find some form over there. That middle order, and then obviously the likes of Fakhr could really find some form going into Ahmedabad. So I think it's going to be a batting fest over there, batting galore, and I do think that our batsmen are really going to be in full swing going into the game against Ahmedabad on 14th October.
Kashif bhai, what do you believe now? How important is that toss and then everything going to be for Pakistan, at least? Because over the years we have fancied, a dynamic where we love to bowl first.
Yeah, I can see for the fact that we have chased down 350 once against Australia, and then 300 plus in the number of times for the last couple of years. So we are looking at a side who was historically not a good chaser, converting into a side who loves to chase now. But having said that, when we talk about those grounds and when we talk about the dew factor and all those things into the perspective, taking all those things into the perspective, it will be a decision made on that perfect day. When you go for that toss, or a day before you made the decision in the team dugout, what do you want to do as a team, and this will be done there. So the toss factor, I am not sure right now what will be the captain will be thinking about it, because it's too far ahead. You go there in the Hyderabad, you go there in the stadium, you find the dimensions, you find the moisture in the air, you find the dew factors, all those things that have to be taken into the consideration when you go for the toss. And because when we talk about cricket, it depends on the toss. Certain percentage of the outcome of the match depends on the toss. So it will be taken into the account just a day before. But before going into the toss thing, I would like to think we are talking about 9 matches of the World Cup, 9 pool matches, then the semi-finals, and yes, of course, the finals, and the 2 warm-up matches. And going through this Pakistani lineup, I'm not sure how many of them have played a tournament that long in their entire career, even in their domestic career. So this is something very important. I'm not talking about the physical aspect of the game or the technical aspect of the game. I'm talking about the psychological aspect of the game, because you'll be there for around a month. You'll be sharing the dressing room, the dugout, and all those things, and you'll be traveling a lot. There will be some free days in between where you'll be sitting along with all those teammates. It's just not easy. Believe me, physical aspect or the physical tall players are there. They're professionals to take it. But when we talk about all those things along with the physical aspect, it's just not easy. And this World Cup is just not an easy thing, because every now and then, as Ali said, you'll be traveling, the team will be traveling, and simultaneously they'll be going through different events in this World Cup. It's just not a cricket. You know, it will be something for the marketing and for the sales purposes and the broadcast purposes. So it's just not an easy task, you know, going for those longer version of the tournament. So let's hope this stays gelled in, because every now and then a story pops up of something happening in our dugout. I'm still not sure who is that culprit to come up with the story or to leak that story, but soon we will find.
I hope so. I think the name really needs to be glorified at this stage. Finally figure it out. But this is another important aspect of it, Leena, isn't it? Right before the World Cup, what kind of camaraderie and team environment you're carrying?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the team has to be, it has to gel really well. Like the gentleman was saying, it's a long tour. It's a round robin league. You have to acclimatize. You have to do things. And things only happen, happen for you in a positive direction if you're gelling well, if you're a combined unit, if you're thinking on the same lines. There are no differences and all, so because other than that, you cannot go into the ground and win a difficult tournament or win difficult matches. So Pakistan's got, their task cut out. And also, there was discussion about the toss. So what I've got to say, as you all know, that I'm particularly in favor of batting first in big games. And then putting the onus of the chase on the other party. But then, of course, you cannot assess conditions from right now. We'll have to go and see what ground we are playing on, whether it's sunny, whether it's overcast, what the pitch is going to be playing like, whether it's going to favor spinners or it's got something for a zip for the fast bowlers. So those things you decide once you're on the ground. And you select your 11 accordingly also. What I'm going to add to everything that Kashif and Ali have said is that you cannot play the 11 thinking I cannot drop my friend. If your friend has to be dropped that day, let it be. So be it. Drop your friend that day, because you're playing for your team, your country. Your friend is not bigger than your country or your team. So you have to, first of all, we already made those mistakes in the selecting the squad. But anyways, that's now past us, behind us. So on that day, you've got to assess the conditions extremely well. I for one, as I've grown older, I've realized that cricket is a lot about assessing conditions, how well the team assesses the conditions and plays the squad according to the final 11, playing 11 has to be played according to the conditions, that it has to be assessed. Very often we've seen teams not assessing the conditions and then suffering. So we got to do that carefully, not in a haphazard way, or okay, this is fine, let's play this one. You have to think about these things. This has to be a proper thinking channel. And the captain or the management cannot be, I'm going to use this word rather carefully here, you cannot be very cocky about it. You have to be careful, you have to be sensible. And that is when the good decisions come. And once again, coming back to the gelling of the team, if there was any incident that happened in Pakistan, you got to put it behind you, and you got to be good friends. One thing good about this team that I have felt is that they're good friends. There's good camaraderie, like you said. Camaraderie is very, very important. So, all these factors will then amalgamate into a performance. And if everything is in sync, then good performance will come, because this is not an easy World Cup.
Ali Mehdi, how do you sync these things now? Because obviously Babar has highlighted there's camaraderie in the team. We still need to find the mole who gave out that rubbish story. But then again, a lot of things have been going on with Pakistan cricket in the past 2 months at least.
Look, so much has been going on that is just like it's just like a snowball effect, and that that ball is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But the important thing over here with this team is that this team is actually they've done with what's happened in the past too. They've actually put that to bed, and that's so important because normally you hold grudges, especially in teams too, and we've seen that in the past in Pakistan cricket, and Leena would know even better that, you know, there are some players who, there was a lot of tension in the teams during the World Cups. You can talk about World Cups in the past, 2003 is one example I want to talk about, and even you could say in the 90s, but probably before that too. But this time is, you can say, is that there is real camaraderie in this team too. Babar Azam has actually gotten a team of 15, and he's gotten the players he really wanted. So if the captain trusts all his players, that makes a big difference, and then you can gel well. There's camaraderie, there's that brotherhood between them, and that actually can make a big difference too. But then at the same time,
but brotherhood won't give you form.
No, that won't give you
informed players.
No, that's where I'm coming to. That's why it's so important that you use a squad of 15. If there's a player who's performing better than your friend, you have to put that player. This is a World Cup. This isn't anything else for that matter. This isn't a bilateral series or a series against a minnow. You want to qualify for the semi-finals. You've got to win 6 out of 9 games, Emma, to qualify for the World Cup semi-finals. So for that, you have to play your best 11 and players who are right in the form. I think it is so important that those players who are in form have actually got to play the matches too. So whoever's your best 11, whoever's in form, play them, because it's important also for those players out of form to get a rest, to get a breather, and then, because there's, like Kashif also said, there's going to be so much psychological pressure. 1.5 months, if we go to the World Cup final, playing in India, you know, such difficult and hostile conditions over there, everybody, you know, wanting to have a go, and there's always some sort of media which is going to come out. So, I mean, you know, the media, the management and the team have their work cut out, because this is probably going to be the most difficult World Cup for this team.
Absolutely. And, you know, speaking about much needed breaks, we need one as well. We'll go towards a short break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. Welcome back. That was a much needed break, although a very short one, but we're right back again. So we'll talk about all of these things in detail. Now, one thing that is to be put into consideration is that the fact that all rumors have been set aside now. So this Pakistan team now needs to focus on the task that is at hand, and that is the World Cup indeed, and obviously take it game by game. But what effect will it have on the team? Obviously, things that are off the field tend to have sort of a domino effect on the team as well. Although it's a digital age, and you get to know what's happening one way or the other, and you tend to stay away from things that are unnecessary or extra baggage. So you try to do as well as you can as a team. So this dressing room environment, Kashif bhai, because you've been in that position as a first-class cricketer where you share a dressing room before any game, or in between innings when you're coming out, what's the talk like? What's the captain saying? Do some of the players give a word of advice? What's the general talk between the team members?
When we talk about this amount of days, or these amount of days spent in one tournament, and having this 15, I think traveling reserve 18 players, group of 18 players, the first advice was to just not to talk cricket in the off time, because there was so much of cricket in your brain and in your thoughts that simultaneously you'll move into the negative aspects of that cricket thing. And for me, traveling with the first class team, and spending so much time with the teammates, with the fellows in the hotels. And Ahmed, just to put one thing more, I think none of them have played in the India before. Simultaneously, none of them know what the security in India means, what their media is all about. So this will be entirely a new experience, and not a good one. Believe me, we know for the fact, when we talk about the Indian team security in Pakistan, we know those players can do nothing. They went to the hotel, to the grounds and to the hotel, and that is it. Spending this much of time, ground to the hotel to the ground, spending at least 1 month with this routine, it's just not easy. So just not talk about cricket, there has to be certain on and off modes for the team, for everybody. They should have their personal time, they should have their time spent watching movies or maybe something like that. But when it's on time, just focus to the cricket, and on time should start a day before the match, not pretty much earlier. So it would not be an easy thing. And considering the fact the team is in India, the Pakistani team is in India, and we know for all those negative tactics, starting from not granting the visas to the Pakistani team on time, it's already started, and we know for the fact it will be stay on for 1 month or so.
And then a crowdless match.
Match. It started with those visa thing, and it will happen. Every now and then we'll find out a news related to the Pakistani team, a news circling around the Pakistani team. This will be happening for the coming 1 month. One important thing, talking about all those players who are not informed, they need their peers, their friends, their players to stay with them and slightly talk about their weaknesses, not entirely, because ultimately the player standing on the running end or the other end knows what's happening with the batsman facing the ball. So maybe Fakhar Zaman needs to have a discussion with Rizwan or Babar Azam or Imam, and Shadab has to have a discussion with maybe Osama Amir, maybe the bowling coach there. So these things do happen when you travel for that much time period.
Absolutely. Leena, it's very important. I think for those of us who play cricket, we understand the importance of having your teammates bucking you up. And considering all the teams around the world now, there have been certain problems. Kane Williamson is coming back from injury for New Zealand. Ben Stokes has come out of retirement for England. South Africa at a very crucial stage have just lost Sisanda Magala and Anrik Nokia, one of their prime, I think, candidates to perform in this World Cup. Things are going on and off for many teams, but it's all about the camaraderie, and how even if you're batting and you look to be in trouble, your mate at the other end needs to talk to you. There needs to be that talk, and this is where we really want the Pakistan team, especially Babar Azam, to step up and talk to the boys who often have looked down when there's been a situation which has been very crunch or crucial in a game.
Absolutely. I mean, like you said, it's a long World Cup. There has to be a lot of camaraderie. There will be ups and downs, both psychological, maybe physical also, injuries, and these things happen. The press will be another factor that we really have to be really careful in India, is that there will be a lot of focus on the Pakistan team. The Indian press will be focusing on the Pakistan team a lot. Like when we go to England, there's always a controversy because the English press is always focusing, and you have to be very careful. So there'll be a lot of pressure like this also. Every move will be looked into. That is why they'll have to be even more gelled. There will have to be there for each other all the time. And people who they're characters who are really good in the dressing room and always keep the dressing room atmosphere happy and jovial. Those kind of characters will have to be have to step up in these situations because it's a difficult long World Cup. And so it will be strenuous on mentally and physically and psychologically, every aspect. So these things are very important. The aspects which are not just playing the match, those aspects are equally important and have to be dealt with, really sensibly. And the other thing I also wanted to point out, because you spoke about injuries, that Pakistan, I think, is the worst team when it comes to rotation. We just don't understand the word rotation. We don't understand the meaning of rotation. But here, since it's a very, very long tournament, we will have to rotate our bench strength. We will have to give chances to, players sitting on the bench against maybe smaller teams. There'll be matches against Netherlands, or there'll be matches against maybe Bangladesh or smaller, easier matches. But, in comparison, I'm not saying easier as such, but in comparison. So maybe your main players will have Shaheen, or maybe Babar Azam himself could be rested. There is nothing written in any holy book that the captain can never rest. No holy book says that. So we have to understand that even the captain needs mental and physical rest. And there will be fast bowlers or maybe batsmen who look fatigued or seem fatigued or are just carrying maybe a little injury. They need to be rested. Look what we did with Shaheen last year, what we did with Naseem, now playing him into every match and allowing him to play every league. That has to change for Pakistan in general. And on this tour, this World Cup, they will have to understand rotation and practice it. Even if they're scared that, oh, if I don't play today, I can be dropped tomorrow, let it be. But you have to practice rotation. That will be important, equally important than these other things we've talked about.
Ali Mehdi, an interesting stat that comes to mind is obviously Pakistan and India have played very less cricket against each other because of certain things at the BCCI and with BJP, politicizing the issue. Now, out of those 7 times, Babar Azam has batted 6 times against India. When I talk about, ODI, complete stats overall. He's not scored a half century against India so far, right? In these 6 innings, 5 times he's been out-caught by the fielder. 1 time just recently we saw him, he was bowled in the Asia Cup. So that's the overall stat. Apart from India, if you look at the top 8 or 9 teams in the world, Babar has scored a half century against every other team. So this could be a moment for redemption for him to find that personal form as well, because no doubt, #1 batter in the world, best in every aspect, but just that little bit of consistency that's not been there.
No, I think that's a very important point. I was actually was looking into this on another platform too, that Babar Azam is exceptional against all the big teams. He has an incredible average against against Australia, 70 plus, 72, 75 too, and even against England he's about 48, and when it comes to other teams he's very good. But India is the only team he hasn't really been performed well against, and that is because of the psychological pressure. And some of the matches we talk about, the last match too, there was so much psychological pressure too. So I think this is a moment for redemption for him. And the fact that because we are playing 2 games before that, he can find some form, and then when he goes into the big crunch match too, he would have practiced very hard. They would have gotten more information and data analysis about the Indians too. Then, and most important thing is, Ahmed, that they that it's so important that before that India game, the psychological battle is won. They're psychologically prepared for this. I remember there was a talk that they're going to send a psychologist with the team too. I hope whether or not that's happened or not,
I have full faith in the abilities of Malang Ali. I think we don't need a psychologist over here. So.
No, but on a serious note over here, I think it's so important that they have to be psychologically strong, and Babar really needs to fire. Not only he needs to fire, but the other players too. But against India, once he clicks against India, I can promise you that for the remaining 6 games he's going to play after that, he's going to have an exceptional World Cup. So hopefully, he'll be able to tick mark on the, be able to tick mark one of the checklist that, he's performed well against India.
Well, Kashif, first of all, are you happy with him batting at number 3? I think that's a very, very cliche question so far, because he's done that for quite some time now. But then again, for him to find just that personal touch, I don't mean to say he's not in form, but there's an added pressure of captaincy, everything going on, and you need to focus there as well as a batter.
Let me come up with something technical. We talk about Babar Azam. We never talk about Babar Azam's performance against the fast bowler. You can find out the mightiest of fast bowlers bowling to Babar Azam, and he's playing them at ease. Remember Australia series, he scored century, got out of Nathan Lyon. Against South Africa, he scored a T20 100. Yes, people talk about their B team or everything else, but he scored century against them. So Babar Azam against the spinners, there is always the talk of the town, and we always come up with certain clues of him not scoring so beautifully against the spinner. Remember against Prabhat Jayasuriya, the left arm spinner in the Sri Lanka, then the Kuldeep Yadav, and then the Adil Rashid, he's not picking the googly. So when we talk about Babar Azam and we go into the statistics, we find out that he is not exceptionally well against Afghanistan, maybe against India, just because they've got plenty of spinners in their ranks. So this is one technical aspect he was struggling a bit. But I still remember Nasir Hussain's word: if he is not good enough against the spin bowling and performing with the average of 56, just imagine if he's good against spin bowling, what will he do? So this is where he's so exceptional. We come up with so many issues of Babar Azam against the spin, and still we find out that bracket of average 55, 56, I guess, in the one day. So maybe this is one reason of him not performing against those opposition who have got the quality in their spin. But having said, I know personally Babar Azam when he played for Islamabad, and the work ethics he has got, the amount of time he spent on his batting is just phenomenal. People with the skill and talent tends to get bored when they've been asked to do some extra hours on their ability, because they're already so much talented and skilled at doing that thing. They get bored of doing that thing. But when it's come to Babar Azam, that persistence and that consistency of working on his batting and all the aspects of the game, it's so beautiful. And eventually he'll come off with something very exceptional, very good, and we'll be seeing that in the World Cup. Having said that, Babar Azam, when I go through this entire Pakistani team, not a single player I can come up with who is not actually doing good, just not on the field or off the field. Talk about Rizwan. We haven't seen Rizwan's coming up in the media and saying something which is not good. Let me come up with this phrase, which is not good. Apart from that, his desire to play at 4, but again in the very next sentence he said, if the team demands, he'll be batting at any number. So coming up with this whole discussion, I wanted to say that one point is to show this team is determined to do good, but what's the skill level of them, that is something, another debatable thing. And when we talk about, there are certain people talking about the selection of the team. Believe me, when you sit on those chairs, on those tables of selection panel, you'll come up with those names and no one else, because you do have certain and personal preferences. But when it comes to the entire team selection, I think this is the best possible thing we can come up with for the Pakistan in this World Cup.
Leena, this particular point now of Babar Azam against the spin, I think it's not for us. It's been highlighted amongst the world. I think that's where the difference right now stands. And considering a team's strengths in the World Cup, I would say it's going to be a very daunting task, because for Pakistan's chances in the World Cup, I think he is one of those 3 candidates who has to bat through.
What was the last part of your question?
I'm saying that for Pakistan's chances in the World Cup, he would be one of the 3 batters in our team who will have to bat through the innings?
Batting has to be good. I mean, there is no way that we can't. Before I go further, you talked about Babar Azam's weaknesses against the spin, and these in India, he will be facing a lot of spinners on tracks. Will probably take a lot of spin. Some of them, if not all. So he will be tested thoroughly by some very good spinners. Afghanistan's got some excellent spinners. I saw New Zealand has some very good spinners. India themselves have good spinners, so he will be tested, and the Pakistani batting would be tested. So I want. That's why I keep talking about Saud Shakil. That is why I want someone like Saud Shakil who has the temperament. He's a left-hander. He's got good temperament. He's got a good record. So need be 1 or 2 wickets fall, and he's coming at number 4 or 5. If number 4 can be sometimes vacated by in near future can be vacated by Rizwan, and he could be a little flexible. Then Saud Shakil can come on 4 or either 5 if it's not vacated. Then on 5, and from there someone like Saud Shakil who has the prowess of batting long under pressure, can take the pressure. Someone like him will be very important, a very, very important cog in Pakistan's batting wheel. So when Pakistan can bat the full overs, the full quota, because when you bat the full quota, even if you're in trouble, you put some kind of score for your bowlers. We cannot, for the last 70 years, we have been depending largely on our bowlers. We cannot keep doing that because now Naseem Shah is not even there. We haven't got the most exciting spinners in the world. Let's be clear about that. We've got these Relu Cutters who are not the most exciting spinners in the world. So the batting will have to come to the party, and they will have to bat big and long, and we will have to have 1 or 2 players who are ready and are given the role by the management that you'll have to bat big, you'll have to bat long. For instance, Imam can, Babar can, Saud Shakil can. These 3 batters are the ones who can bat long for Pakistan.
Absolutely. Leena, thank you very much for joining us on Sports Extra. Ali Mehdi, thank you very much to you as well. And Kashim Majid, thank you very much, sir, for joining us. Always a pleasure. That being said, I think our chances in the World Cup should always be taken positively. Pakistan has everything to make it to the semis, and if they do, then to the finals, and why not a World Cup in India? So that being said, I'll wrap it up for me and the entire team. It's goodbye for now.